Hi, Hillary. Hi, Asia. Lisa, welcome. It's good to have everybody here. We have a guest of honor here. Some of you know Jaimi from other uh, RX webinars, and I'm just excited that she gets to tell her story. Last time I heard the story, I was traveling to Salt Lake across Wyoming, and she made the drive very colorful for me for about 30 minutes. She go through the tumbleweeds of I-80 in Wyoming. So and Jamie, I'm still going to come up and have cider with you one of these days when the weather gets better.
Okay.
Coming to the Bear River country up there. Um, I think we're going to jump in. I know we'll have some more people joining probably. Just reminding those of you on the call, when you're not communicating with us, go ahead and be on mute because this goes out to a list. This recording goes out to a list of over, is it over 700 or are we over 800 now? Seven. Okay. 700 people who are subscribed. They want to get this call. So most people listen after the fact. Uh, so today I'm so excited. If you saw my Instagram story that I posted this morning, I get three questions consistently. Is there a proven process for reinvention? How long will it take me? Will it take forever? Or can I do it? Do I have time in my lifetime to do it? And will I land somewhere where I really enjoy it? I can make ends meet. And the answer to those is yes, yes, yes. And today is proof. We have Jaimi with us today, and I got to be so in the trenches with her right from that very inkling of, I got to do something else. Through ups and downs, twists and turns, she did the work. And Lisa Griggs, you're going through this right now in a visceral way. She did the work to really experiment. Asia, you know what we're talking about. Hillary, you know what we're talking about. Christiana, you're doing some of this. So we are in for a good ride. We get to see the story. I'm going to let Jaimi lead because it's her story. She tells it well. And you're sitting in front of a world-renowned water scientist, if I can call you that, Jaimi, that we started out when she was working at Westminster in Salt Lake. So, Jaimi, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming and, like spending your lunch. And I actually thought since you were joining us that it would be fun if I had pictures. And so I'm going to share with you. I actually created this because I went to my kid's career day. She's in middle school. And I just thought like the pictures were just so much more fun than telling a story and blabbing at anybody, middle schoolers, grown-ups, people that are never going to grow up. And I mean, here's proof that I just turned 50 yesterday. So I was a kid of the 80s. I had a perm mullet. My shirt, I've always loved to be really colorful. And my shirt, you can't see it, but it says sun your buns. And the rabbits that are below it are like mooning the screen. Um, but I knew as that kid that had a perm mullet that I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be in the mud. I loved bugs. I loved birds. I loved being outside. And I found myself as a wildlife scientist working for this brine shrimp industry. And I found all of these like super colorful characters that kind of had a bad reputation that taught me about Great Salt Lake in Utah. And I just ran with it. At the time, people did not like Great Salt Lake very much. They thought kind of poorly of it. It does stink. It makes you a little bit itchy. It's kind of weird. There's not lots of boats on the water except for these brine shrimp harvesters. And the cool thing is that eventually, after whatever 25 years, the folks that I worked with, we ended up making that lake cool. We got brine shrimp listed as the Utah State crustacean with these sixth graders. Really, it took sixth graders to do that. And brought Great Salt Lake into this like really big light. I took my mullet and I got these these are students from Westminster College. You can tell it's during the pandemic. We had face masks around our necks, which is cool. We found out that the face masks were not only good for stopping the spread of communicable diseases, but also flies that would get into your mouth when you were in this really like, it's like the buggiest place on the planet, and hence the birdiest place on the planet, which was great for me. So I was at Westminster College after working with the brine shrimp industry and the state of Utah, and you just really like made this connection to people of how important one of the largest salt lakes in the world and one of the most important bird migration areas, kind of rest stops for these birds is. We did lots of research with students while we were there. These were pelicans that are on a remote island that people really couldn't study. They're super sensitive. They're American white pelicans. And we put these wildlife or these motion activated cameras on this island. And we found all sorts of really cool things like in picture A there, they're having dance parties on the shores of Great Salt Lake. And in B, you can see they love to take selfies just like I do. In C, but this is Utah. We can't really talk about what they're doing in C because they're making babies. Um, and we just found out like really like groundbreaking things about these pelicans that nobody really knew about using the labor of undergraduate students and the, unlimited energy of people who get excited about seeing cool things like this. These pictures eventually went on to a platform called Zooniverse. At Zooniverse, thousands of people across the world would get on this computer-based platform and tell me what they saw on these pictures, including predators that were getting on the island through these land bridges because this lake is very imperiled. People are preventing water from getting to it, diverting it for farms and for the cities, the 2 million people that live on the shores of Great Salt Lake. So we really like connected to folks. We connected the lake to folks through research and education. Um, we wrote, this is from an obituary that we wrote that was in a local magazine that eventually went viral. So we took Great Salt Lake and we turned this place, we personified this place, and this is what we thought Great Salt Lake would look like with her, um, you know, gray hair and her pink brine shrimp and some green water and parts of Great Salt Lake. This eventually went viral and was really a catalyst for a lot of things that are happening now. There's people that go to the legislature and they lobby on behalf of Great Salt Lake. Sometimes they dress in costumes, brine shrimp and pelicans and bison, and really bring the lake to our legislators because it is so imperiled and does need a lot of help. We wrote the first biology book about Great Salt Lake. I mean, this was in 2022 that this was published, and it was the first book about the biology of Great Salt Lake, where we worked with a whole bunch of different authors and students to paint a picture of this really important place at a time of change, climate change and human population growth, and really like changing perceptions of Great Salt Lake. The hardest book that I wrote was with Dr. Bonnie Baxter also. It was called The Great Salt Lake Monster Mystery. Writing a children's book takes a lot more effort than writing academic papers. And we, connected children to this really important place. And, at the time, I was doing lots of media and I was on Science Friday on NPR and I was writing these books and like really becoming this voice for Great Salt Lake. And I kind of came to this part where I it felt like my job was done. Like I moved to my ex-husband's family farm that's in Cache Valley. It's in one of the major tributaries to Great Salt Lake called the Bear River Range. And I moved to this farm. It was a dairy farm that was no longer active as far as like dairy cattle, but it was this like really beautiful place in this rural town that really like it was just this like it just changed my brain immensely. Lynn knows that, Salt Lake City, where I came from, and Park City, where I was living, it's only like an hour and a half away. And I became a total bitch about even going to the city. I wouldn't go to visit my friends or my family. I just felt like I had one foot in the city and one foot in the country, and I wanted to stay in the country, but I didn't I felt like I didn't like my job was done there. Like people were like lobbying the legislature and all of this research was like starting to happen through lots of different places, government entities and academia and so I contacted Lynn and was like, help, what do I do? And I started on my journey like of reinvention because I didn't know what else to do. I was a wildlife scientist. I was a Great Salt Lake expert, and I didn't like. I always equated like farms with like harvesting or harvesting vegetables or harvesting animals or milk or whatever it was. And so one of my experiments, I decided to look like all of this metal that was out there. I decided to. I can't make this go anymore. My screen froze. Shoot.
Because we're on Zoom and PowerPoint, you might have to go out and come back. Out of the PowerPoint and then come back into it.
But did I freeze? Am I frozen?
Yes, a little. Uh-huh.
Oh man.
But we can still hear you. And again, Zoom and PowerPoint are not always compatible. So sometimes stop sharing and then come back and see if you can go into the slide another way. Give Jaimi a chance to get here. I think this is in Wellsville, up by Logan, for those of you who are in Utah.
Well, they certainly know how to do rainbows there.
They do, don't they? Isn't that a great one?
Mhm.
And I think that one came in from the sprinkler system. I'm not sure. Um, so far though, while Jamie's coming back to us from the far reaches of Cache Valley, um, what's standing out for a couple of you guys that you're noticing about her story?
I
Yeah,
would say, yeah, so far what's standing out is a lot of success. Like a lot of things that is a lot of work, but also there are, it seems to me, a lot of things that she's referencing that are real milestones. Writing a book, writing another book, having people influence with the legislator, having sixth graders, help lobby. Like those are really big milestones. So I'm really interested to see what her story is because these seem like some things that I don't know that I would want to reinvent away from. I'm not in her shoes, but you know what I'm saying? Like, wow, this is really cool. So yeah, that's what's standing out to me.
yeah, and she's using them as experiments and projects as she reinvents. So there's an element of joy and purpose, and of course work. And these aren't micro experiments. These are actual pretty big projects. So I'm glad you made that observation for sure. Hillary, were you going to say something?
I found it interesting as she was telling. I was like, my question was, at what point did the career reinvention begin? And then she led to that. So then we knew it was at the moment that she felt like her work was done. And I think that is such an interesting point when it comes to coaching, right? When we feel that uncomfortableness, that itch, we call it, the it's the nudge for change. And so
Yeah.
that nudge can sometimes come in the form of feeling like you are complete. This project is done. And it feels so good that it doesn't feel like a need for change because, like Asia said, so many great things are going on. But
Yeah.
recognizing that maybe that's a great time to take that leap.
Beautiful. Yes, she knew she was complete. She couldn't do it any longer. It was wrapped up. There wasn't any more to it. That is a consistent thing that we often find in reinvention is that you reach that point where it's like, oh, I'm finished here. My work is finished here. Yeah, a lot of clarity. I'm glad you brought that up, Hillary. We've been talking about what people are picking out of the story, Jaimi. So, and one thing is the rainbow's been commented on, and the projects that in fact, Asia, how would you say it to Jaimi about what you noticed about her milestones?
I would say the milestones are, well, what stood out to me, honestly, are these are milestones that some people hope they can do at least maybe even one of them in their lifetime kind of idea. But to see the milestones being something you're connected to, maybe proud of, happy to share. They're reaching out to other, like they're focused on the lake, that it's reaching out to other people. I love that really everything that you're pulling together. I don't know that I've ever thought about an obituary, but what a creative way to actually get some things out there. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So, something of all of it is speaking to a very wide audience, and I'm impressed. I think it's really cool so far.
It is. And Hillary, do you want to share your observation about that moment of knowing that I can't say it the way you said it.
Oh, so you want Jamie to hear what I said,
Yeah, I
right?
do.
Okay, let me try. So you had so many great things going on in your life, but you also were at that point when you got away that you realized you felt complete. And when we know about coaching, that when we're ready for a change, that we're getting a nudge, we're uncomfortable, we're not happy anymore, that kind of thing. But you had so many great things going on for you to recognize, hey, I'm ready for a change. This project is complete. I want to know, now that Lynn gave me a chance, I want to know if this was unexpected or expected in a way.
I don't know if it was either, but I know it's unique. Like when I talk to my cohorts and I say, like somebody said the other day, I don't feel like things are complete. Like I would feel that my job wasn't finished if I died today. And like at that point, I felt so satisfied with my career. Like if I died today, I would like have this legacy that like is super cool. I'm proud of. Like it felt like I made a difference in the world. It felt like so I don't know if it was expected or not expected. I mean, I went to the family farm with just kind of blind trust and just did it. I didn't think about it too much. Does that answer your question?
It does. And was going to the family farm, was that an experiment like we do in the coaching, the reinvention change, where we experiment with things? Was that an intentional experiment?
It was my ex-husband's family farm, and it was always I don't think it may I mean maybe it turned into an experiment because I didn't stay there. I didn't like it. I didn't like any of it, and I didn't stay there. But at the time, I don't think it was an experiment. It was like being a partner to somebody and being part of that partnership is like giving and taking. And I had this really awesome job that I was super proud of and doing lots of cool work with. And I left. So, I mean, so some of my experiments, like I was talking about all of this metal and thinking about harvesting, and we didn't have animals. And so I took a welding class because I thought I could like harvest all of the metal that wasn't being used on that farm anymore. And I learned I didn't like to weld. I would get burned and I didn't like the smell of it. And it was not my thing in any way, shape, or form. Um, I started doing stuff like farm thinking, well, maybe my friends had a farm nearby and maybe I want to be a farmer. Maybe I want to grow. I like plants. I don't know if you can see in the background. I really love plants. Like maybe I would love to be a farmer. And I learned to harvest my own meat and butcher my own meat. I milk the goats. This is one of the baby goats. They're actually one of my favorite things that I've found during my experimentation. They're 2 pounds when they come out, and they're literally the cutest things ever. And they have, I wish I had videos of them. I milk those goats and I make cheese out of the milk and, give it to my friends. And it's one of the favorite things that I've kept around. At the same time, I was doing all of this Salt Lake science. So I was doing this salty science. And I realized that pickling was also salty science. And so I started pickling cucumbers and garlic scapes and beets and like anything. I pickle everything. It's really ridiculous. I have so many pickles in my cupboards. I started doing this crazy thing where I had a lot of extra time because I had quit my job and I started being like I started puppeteering with some friends.
Will the Utah legislature's act in session always gives me indigestion. They talk about saving the lake.
How ridiculous is this? Like I had to watch so many Muppet shows.
While another microbial dying. Millions of people breathe toxic dust. Rich people get tax cut.
And at the same time that I was watching Muppets and being unemployed, I called myself feral at the time because I didn't have a title. Lynn can tell you I was really stressed out that I didn't have a title. And so I started and I kind of took that and decided to do a lot of volunteer work. And I would go help the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources count deer and elk. These are elk that you see from a helicopter. And I kind of took that like wildlife science and that love of like outside and started using it in more of a volunteer capacity to help better manage and like in a balanced way wildlife that are in my backyard. So this was like literally in my backyard. Behind me would have been Great Salt Lake that I studied forever. And I realized through that, I did some consulting work and started my own consulting business. And I realized that those jobs were just jobs that I could have expected to have, and that I needed to find jobs that fit my life that had changed, that was more like agrarian and more flexible. And I started working for my friends. This is actually this behind this apple on my hand, you're going to see gravestones. This is a cemetery where some of my dead relatives are buried. And there was a crabapple tree in this cemetery that we ended up harvesting 600 pounds of this and turned it into cider for the cidery that I work at now. So on the weekends, I bartend at a local cidery that uses local apples, even sometimes from my dead relative's cemetery, and made this local cidery, which I don't know how many of you are from Utah, but it's not super common to have lots of homemade alcohol, or it's not very accepted. So it was really great to have this kind of like local scene of like farmers and like local kind of gathering places for people to come. And now I also work, so I work part-time at the cidery. That fits my life. And then this job came along that's working for a nonprofit called the Bear River Land Conservancy. And we protect land in perpetuity. And you'll see a little beaver crossing the front of this screen right here. We're releasing beaver into the Bear River to help slow water, to like slow that water and allow the groundwater to fill up. You'll see the beautiful Bear River Mountains behind there. I'm really glad to be behind the photographer now. I'm not in front of it. I'm like behind this photographer and watching the beaver in the water being released into this place that they haven't been for a really long time. And so part-time, I work out of my home with the Bear River Land Conservancy, and I help protect land in perpetuity, not only for beavers and endangered orchids and wildlife corridors like those elk that you saw, but also for people who are working the land, that have worked the land and create our food, and making it more economically feasible to not develop their land, to like leave it as open space and improve for wildlife habitat. And and really, like, to me, like, this is what it is. It's like this community of people that were connecting to these mountains. I even get like, I feel so lucky that I found these places that fit my life, not a job that like I have to have to like make my life go. So that's like kind of, those are the fun pictures. It actually was like a slideshow I made for the junior high. So you get the junior high scene too. So that was kind of my journey. It felt like this like confluence during all of that time too. So like really during that time I like finished, kind of felt complete at work. I had written books, my projects were done. The pandemic happened, and so we realized that we could like do these different things. I realized I didn't want to be married to my husband anymore. So it was like this like kind of confluence of everything happening at the same time that led to that, all of that.
Yeah. Jaimi, give us the timeline because this is a question that people ask, like from beginning to end. And I want you to also, while you listen to what Jaimi says about the timeline, she was always learning and she was finding ways to earn. So,
I really quit my job in like mid 2022 is when I really like I had tried to like leave before, and it was like for whatever reason I couldn't, but it was like really 2022. So for me it's been, almost 5 years of like really working, really like intentionally doing experiments, like welding and learning how to milk goats and make cider. This is the pressed flesh of my dead relatives. Um, yeah, so and like finding this place at the Land Conservancy is really cool because it kind of like connects like the work that I did before in this like watershed as a major tributary that's very like rural and agrarian. It is like one of the really um last like rural places that are kind of like in this watershed into Great Salt Lake. So I feel like it kind of like completes that, or it comes full circle or something. It's like that oxbow or something in the river that kind of completes that circle. So it's pretty cool. It's awesome that I don't have to work full time. I mean, I work full time, but I don't have a 40-hour a week job. I have this like flexibility that I work Tuesday through Thursday. It makes it sound more important if say I work Tuesday through Thursday, and then sling cider at the cidery and do a lot of community building, right? It's like a lot of community building and using the relationships that I had before, um, to connect. It's like
yeah,
connecting people to the land, connecting people to the cute little goats or the beavers that we released, or connecting people to people that care about the same things and maybe don't understand that they do.
Jaimi, I'm one of the things that I delight in your story is you've arrived at a place where through the process, it feels like you gave yourself permission to no longer do the 9 to 5, to no longer do it the way other people did. if there's a rebel out there that's going to find a way to let her soul be free, it's you. And you know when it's a yes and you know when it's a no. And sometimes you have to be in it to know that. Is it true, or am I close to a truth of yours that really in your reinvention story, you're telling us you can earn a living and live your life by doing the things that inspire you? Is that kind of an underpinning to what you're saying here?
Yeah, and that's what I tell the kids at the junior high when I go and talk to them is like, geez, you know, like you have these visions in your head of like, when I was their age, I wanted to be a teacher or a veterinarian. I didn't realize that I could do something that I was really passionate about, that I wanted to do all the time. Um, that was different than being a teacher, a firefighter, or an attorney, or a doctor, right? Those like kind of things that you see every day. And I mean, I've had the privilege to do that, right? I took gap years. Like, I didn't know that you could take gap years as like a 45-year-old person. And I was able to take gap years and experiment with making cider and planting trees and milking goats and being in helicopters, you know, like going in helicopters and using that really like weird, probably not neurotypical part of my brain that loves numbers. Like I love counting things. Like I didn't know that that was like something that you could have as a job.
And now you know it, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Does anybody else on the call want to ask a question or make a comment? I love how illustrated this was and how honest this is. Anybody else want to ask or jump in?
It was
So
really
Jaimi, you said
scary.
something a minute ago, and I didn't catch the end of it perfectly. You said you wanted a job that fit your life instead of a job to have a life. Was that the, I want to quote that because that was powerful to me.
Oh, yeah, I actually didn't realize that until like I did get a real job. In quotes, I did get a real job, 40 hours a week, and it was a really cool partnership, but it was working essentially for the federal government. And I realized at the time when I was negotiating my wages and my time, I really tried to negotiate. Well, I tried to negotiate a higher wage and lower hours, and they said, no, we'll give you more money, but we need you here full time. The government shut down. I got laid off in the government shutdown, and I like kind of restarted another like gap year, gap 6 months. And when they offered me my job back, I told them no, that I wasn't going to work full time, that I wanted to work at the cidery. I love working at the cidery. Like I'm a very social, well, I'm probably half introvert and half extrovert. So when I'm here in my office, I'm alone, except for my Shih Tzu is here half time, and um, he goes with my daughter half time, and so I'm alone a lot. And then I go to the cidery on the weekends that I don't have my kid, and was pretty like I have lots of boundaries about when I can work and when I don't want to work. And one of them is I don't want to work 40 hours a week for one job and be stuck in a place for 9 to 5.
That's great freedom and great clarity. And that's personal. Yeah. Right up what Hillary was asking about. Thank you. Asia, did you have a question?
I did. Since Jaimi was working with you, Lynn, with Soul Salt, Jaimi, did you reference your core values a lot for this, or did they just kind of did you see things shift and change? Like how did your values drop into this?
It's so funny because I keep them in my notebook. Lynn knows how I write a lot too, but like Lynn knows how important they were to me and like creating those, and I keep them. They're like in my notebook with my like disc values because sometimes I have to refer to them and I'm like, oh. Yeah, like I can be known as being like defiant and tactless and rebellious. Like I have to remember some of those like things that could maybe be negative or things that could be really positive. I think my core values, they stayed the same, I think. I mean, the like running my life with humor, with flexibility, doing things I'm passionate about that that allow for fun. And like being a I think my like life leadership goal or plan was to be a kick-ass voice for the natural world. And like that never changed.
Mm.
Yeah, it's still part of you, isn't it? Yeah. As you have people circled around you talking about things like that in that last. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? I, I feel like we're sitting in a treasure trove of information about reinvention. Yeah, Hillary, I see. Yeah, we've sat on a few of these, haven't we, Hillary? And this is a good one. Yeah.
It was
Um,
really scary. And I mean,
yeah.
part of the reason I left my ex-husband was there wasn't flexibility in like change. Like there was no um, and like that was kind of like a big milestone to me was realizing that that needed to be part of embracing the change of like moving to the farm and changing careers. Like that needed to be something that was really non-negotiable. And it was scary.
Yep,
Yeah.
we know that's one of the hardest parts of coaching and change, right? Is your circle around you because they are threatened by it or they don't like it or they don't want it. Hopefully, it doesn't end in divorce all the time, but it can.
It can be. And the divorce came somewhat in the middle-ish here with Jaimi. Um, it's a realization that came. Those of you who are subscribed to our newsletter here at Soul Salt, you saw the guidepost that dropped today, or last night, whenever you found it. And I'm bringing it up because I talk about the work I did to find the person that I have in my life now. I want to tell you that part of this reinvention story that you don't know about is Jaimi had a similar path. By looking at herself and healing from the inside out and being true to herself, now what's happened in your relationship? Do you want to share?
I so I got divorced like 2.5 years ago, and I I joined Bumble. You guys, I joined Bumble, and that was really, really, really scary and super duper weird being like middle-aged and joining Bumble. And I met this person who I think, right now I don't want anything serious. And I met this person who we're kindred spirits. We should have known each other in high school. Like there's no reason that we never met each other in high school. And we have a super simpatico relationship that's really supportive and really casual and doesn't, it's not he has kids, I have kid, like it's this like really great thing that is happening right now in my world.
Yeah. So do the work. If you're single and you don't want to be, do the work. Any other questions? Any other comments? All right. Jaimi, thank you. Is there any place where people could follow you or get more information if they wanted to ask questions?
My email is Jaimi B Salty. It's Jaimi B, just the letter B, and then the word salty at gmail.com. I'm on Instagram as Jaimi Butler. It's spelled weird, Jaimi. I'm on Instagram. Yeah, you can find me in those places.
Okay. You have some new fans. I know you do. And thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us today, Jaimi. As soon as I heard you telling the story when I was driving and commuting, you you caught a fire in my heart that this story needed to be shared. So I appreciate that you did this. Um, those of you who have been on the call with us and have shared your stories, we really appreciate you doing that. It's through the stories, through the narratives that we actually see those answers to the question. Is there a process? Yes. Will it take some time and can I do it in a lifetime? Yes. And will I find something even better on the other side? Yes, yes, yes. Jaimi's proof of that. So thank you for being here today, everybody. Thank you for living it and proving to yourself that you can earn a living and live your life by doing what inspires you. Thanks, everybody. Take care. See you.